Welcome to the December podcast for Leader Exchange. We're excited today. We have Robert Ratliff from Fort Worth with You Gotta Believe and the baseball story, the Little League All-Star story that was such a big deal in Fort Worth 20 years ago. So, Robert, thank you for being here today. We're excited for the lunch and the crowd and the Fort Worth excitement behind this lunch.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you for having me. Thanks to Leader Exchange for having me. I'm excited for the opportunity to share that summer and those memories.
Awesome. Well, hey, you are a native Fort Worthian. I think that's the right term. You're born and raised here in Fort Worth,
Right.
on the west side, probably grew up coming up here a lot to this club and this neighborhood. So tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up on the west side of Fort Worth in the 90s and kind of some of your memories.
Yeah, as you said, I'm from here, born at Harris Hospital. I didn't leave here till I was, 18, 19 years old for college. Took a few vacations, obviously, with the family, but the majority of the time was right here in Fort Worth on the west side. I grew up in Crestwood, and my wife and I just got to move back to Crestwood, so it's changed a lot, but I think it's also got some really, that old charm that it had 30 years ago, it still has today. And like you said, growing up on this side of town and in Fort Worth, I loved it. I knew that, at one point in my life, I wanted to go be a college football coach or an NFL football coach. And then I realized, hey, I want to marry Natalie and I want to have a family, Natalie.
Right.
And I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. And so I said, well, where am I going to move? And there was just no question. I was going to come back to Fort Worth. And I think a big reason of that was because of the community here that, a tragedy happened when I was 13, losing my dad. And the community here, the men, the women, the friends, the relationships I built, the support that Fort Worth gave us as a family, gave my mom, gave my brother and I, there was just no other place that I was going to go. I knew I needed to come back home.
Yeah, that's great. Full circle. You grew
Yeah.
up here, went away for a little bit, but came back. Well, tell us a little bit about the relationship with your mom and dad and when you were little, some of your favorite memories as a young boy.
Yeah, probably playing baseball. A lot of my memories are playing sports with both my parents, right?
Yeah.
My dad would work during the day. We'd be home with my mom, and my mom would be out there with the little T-ball set, having us hit off the tee and play. And
She was a boy mom.
she was, and because I had a little brother that's roughly 2.5 years younger, and but we spent a lot of time together as a family, and family was always extremely important to my mother and my father, probably because of the homes they grew up in. Our grandparents were both sets of grandparents were extremely family oriented. So it was a lot of fun growing up here. We were together a lot as a family, especially those last 2.5 years when Dad's battling cancer. And I think we just really made the most of that time, and at the time we didn't know if he was going to die or live or beat it or not. But we made the most of those last couple years together.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, we're going to talk a little bit about the team and your dad, but talk about sports. I know that was a big part of your life. Played football, you played baseball, basketball, just being on a team, being involved in sports, kind of how did that shape you and mold you, and some of maybe the lessons learned from being in sports?
Yeah, I love sports. I as I've gotten older, I've realized it doesn't matter if you're good or if you're bad at sports. You don't even have to totally be obsessed and love them, but I think it's really important for all kids, all ages, all skill levels to participate in sports. And not only just sports, but also they need to play at least one team sport, right? Golf's great. Tennis is great. Track's got some team components to it, but they need to go and be on a football or be on a hockey or be on a baseball or be on a basketball team and learn how to work with others and learn how to be coached and learn sportsmanship and learn failure, right? Sports is a team sport's a great opportunity to learn. I learned so much about life and so much about myself, way more when we lost than when we won. So I think they're important. I pray every day that my kids are not only healthy and love God, but also just love sports and want to play sports, because selfishly I have a lot of fun coaching.
Right. You want to coach them. You want to be with them. No, that's good. Well, hey, let's shift gears a little bit onto the Little League team, the Westside Little League All-Star team. So back in 2002, did you guys, you maybe didn't have any idea that what you were doing was such a big story when you were playing and just having fun as 12-year-olds? Did you have any idea what was going on?
I think I'll talk about a little bit of this in a little while at lunch, but I remember I was in Chicago and got a phone call from Coach Kelly, and my dad called and said, "Hey, Coach Kelly's about to call. Stay at your grandparents' house," because we went up to Chicago for a couple weeks right when school got out. that fifth grade at the end of fifth grade, and my dad calls and says, "Hey, stay by the phone. Coach Kelly's about to call you." Coach Kelly calls. He says, "Hey, you've been selected for the All-Star team," and I didn't know if I'd really make the team or not. I
Right.
wasn't the top player on the team, and but I made it, and we just all that group of boys have been playing together. Call it 10 or 11 of us have been playing together since we were 5 years old, off and on, throughout the different teams we were on at Westside, and we had no clue we were going to go to the Little League World Series.
Right.
We knew we were good, and we knew that
Right.
we believed, and we knew we had fun together, but we were just out there game by game. We faced an elimination game 6 times throughout that 25, 30 game summer.
Yeah.
We were going to be knocked out possibly 6 times. And I think we fell back to that "you got to believe" message, and just really just having fun. Like, our parents were so supportive, and there was no pressure. I mean, we would play baseball, we'd play wiffle ball, we'd go swimming, we'd play capture the flag. Like, we were just always together having fun.
The friendship, those were your brothers, those were your pals, and yeah.
And not only those 12 guys, but the brothers and sisters of all of us, right? So
Yeah.
my brother tagged along, Charlie Baloo
Right.
tagged along. I mean, we were all out there together just playing.
One big family.
It was an awesome summer. Played a lot of baseball and got into a lot of trouble.
Well, talk a little bit about how your faith in with your dad's illness, and just how did your faith grow and evolve really during your father's illness and just his eventual passing. How that, I know that as a 12-year-old boy, seeing that and experiencing that.
Right. So my mother made a commitment to send us to Catholic schooling. So we went to St. Andrews, enrolled there, I guess, in preschool or kindergarten. And it was fantastic. It was important to my mom. It was important to my dad as well, but it was definitely led by my mother. And so we had a great foundation of faith, and going to religion class every day, and going to church, and praying together before we eat, and pray before we go to bed with our parents. There was a really strong foundation.
Yeah.
But I remember through that time, and I'll share some stories in a little while, but I remember going through that. Was I frustrated with God? Yes. Was I confused? Yes. Was I angry, and was I questioning him? Absolutely. Did I feel lost at times? Absolutely. But I never stopped believing in him.
Yeah.
Right. I never said, "God, I don't trust you. I don't know you." It was always something important to me that I knew that, like, God, I have to have you to get through this moment.
Yeah.
And I trust, even though I'm frustrated, even though I don't quite understand, I trust that you're putting my brother and I through this, and my mother through this for a reason.
Yeah.
So,
well, your mom, I mean, just being a faithful, to share that and to pour into you all, you and your brother at a young age, to that you had that foundation. And
my mother did a fantastic job. My dad died on May 7th, 2003. And I remember that moment. We went to an Arlington Heights baseball game that night, watched them play a playoff game, I believe. And I just remember that day just saying, okay, I'm either going to I either can go this way or that way. I can either trust in God or say, screw it. And I'm going down
be
this
mad,
road.
be angry. And
it was just there was no question.
Yeah.
We had God loves us. He doesn't always put us through great situations, but he's got a perfect plan.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Well, you've been through our 10-week course study, Robert, and one of the things we talk about a lot in that is leading your family. And you were kind of thrust into your mother was leading the family, but you were the older brother, you were the oldest boy, almost leading your family at a young age, at age 13. And now you're a husband, you're a father. I mean, talk about just all the lessons you learned that thankfully not all of us had to go through at that age, but now just how blessed it is to be a husband and a father, and you have two little boys. Talk about that.
So if you've seen this movie called You Gotta Believe, and some of you might have seen it, some of you haven't, but there's a letter that's mentioned towards the end, and a couple things mentioned in that letter that we'll talk about later, but is accountability. And I just think probably the sports background, and then the faith background, and then my dad passing, I knew that hey, as a man, and I think it's missing in today's world, as a man, you got to take responsibility for your actions and be accountable, good or bad, right? And I have made thousands of mistakes in my life and messed up and not done always right, but I try to own those situations the best I can. And I think part of being a man, and part of being a husband and being a father and trying to lead your family in a Christian way is taking responsibility, being accountable, and being tough but gentle at the same time, right? Like there's a fine line to walk there. And so I do believe that I'm not the dad or the husband I am today if my dad had not passed away, right? Like I don't take the fact that I'm married to an awesome wife, I don't take that for granted. I got to watch my mom serve my husband.
Yeah.
My dad, and then I don't take the fact that I got two. I've been blessed with 2 boys for granted, because those are gifts from God, and I think the fact that I lost my dad early, I think God's sitting there saying, "Hey, here are 2 boys that you get to go have a special relationship."
Yeah,
with.
you missed that at a key age 12, when you need a dad,
Right? Right.
And now you see just the importance of that, and being that dad to your 2 boys.
There's nothing better that I want. There's nothing more important to me that I need to lead than my 2 boys and my wife.
Yeah.
And it is important to the leader exchange and the core and what you guys preach day in and day out.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So talk a little bit about what it's been like sharing your father's story with the world. This is the movie's out, and so a lot of people have seen it. And, some of the people in Fort Worth obviously knew your dad. Right. A lot of the people that'll be here today, but you're sharing that story with the world. What's that been like?
It's been very humbling. It's been remarkable. I mean, my dad was a great person. A lot of people tell me that, but then he gets a movie made after him, right? So it's been really special. But I think that some of the silver lining here is, hey, there was a total disaster tragedy that happened on May 7th of 2003. 2 boys lost a dad. A mom of 2 young boys lost a husband. And then we come 21 years later, I think 21 years later, and now there's a movie out, and now there's a foundation, and now we're getting the opportunity to speak in front of a bunch of leaders in a community. And so I think that the point there is that, yes, there's bad things that happen, but God is working all things for good. Yeah. And if you continue to trust His process, and you continue to look to Him for guidance, and if you continue to pray to Him daily, like something good, even though it's this bad storm and you can't see, and you're confused and you're angry, like something good's coming. And so this movie's been awesome. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and it's a great story to be able to. I think it's great for families to watch with their children, and because bad things do happen, right?
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You're not always going to win the game. Right. You're going to lose a loved one. I mean, it's life. But I think we have to come back to, like, God has a perfect plan.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's an encouragement, Robert, for me to hear you say that. Those in the room, it's encouraging to hear that just this community, Fort Worth, all your teammates, those families, how they loved on your mom and you and your brother, and your faith and all of that, kind of helped you get through that. And just this movie it's been fun to watch and see. I have the privilege of working with one of your teammates, Mark Grace. Right. And so our entire office, we rented the movie theater and went and watched the movie together, all of us with Mark. That's when it awesome. Came out this summer.
He's got quite the character in there.
Yeah, we kidded him a little bit about that. So let's talk about the foundation. So where did the phrase "you gotta believe" come from? And can you tell us about the "you gotta believe" foundation that you started with your brother?
Right. So my dad, our whole life would say, you got to believe. And it wasn't always necessarily a faith thing, but it definitely had a faith element to it. But it was, hey, you got to believe you can do well on this math test. You got to believe that you could get a hit, right? I struggled at the plate. I was a bad hitter. I struggled with confidence. And he would say, I still remember him in Williamsport, up in the stand saying, hey, you got to believe, and you got to believe. And so it was just something in our home constantly. My mom would say it. My dad would say it. And so we just kind of adapted to it and kind of lived by it. And then in 2007, we're sitting around the dinner table, my mom, my brother, my 2 best friends, John Philip Boudreaux and Alec Malarkey. And we're sitting there, and I said to him something along the lines of, guys, we got to continue my father's legacy. We got to do something to honor him and do something. And they're like, okay, so, we're wanting to get back to NCAA and go back and play our video game. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to start a football camp. And I was a junior in high school. I was obsessed with football. I hadn't started playing football till my freshman year. And so I convinced them to all want to do it with me. And we started the You Gotta Believe football camp. And we had 28 kids that first year in 2007.
Just a summer football camp that you guys led.
In July, we got my mother was the PE teacher at St. Andrews. Yeah. We grabbed her directory, and we convinced 28 crazy moms, I guess, to drop them off to 2 juniors in high school.
Junior high kids being coached by high school kids, that's good.
It was good. And so next thing you know, it's kind of taken off from there. We've had over 3,500 kids over the last 17 years come through the organization.
In Fort Worth and Jackson, Mississippi. So you have 2.
Exactly. And then we started a baseball camp this past May, and we had over 180 kids come to the baseball camp. And that one was really special, David, because that was at Westside Little League, in the neighborhood I grew up at the baseball park that my dad coached me. There were multiple times throughout those couple days that I just felt my dad right next to me. I was setting the fields up.
Presence right there.
I did. I felt there's not a place on earth that I feel closer to him than down there. And so I just remember getting down there that first day of baseball. My brother thought I was crazy for trying to pull this off. He's in South Carolina, and he said, "I don't know how you're going to do this. We don't have any equipment, whatnot." But we pulled it off. And I just remember being out there that morning, early that Thursday morning, setting everything up, and just feeling my dad right there with me. So,
I did not know that it was your dad that was the one that always said, "You got to believe." So that's great. And just honoring his legacy and his memory, keeping that alive, and you and your brother doing that.
And I think something to note there is the fact that, like, yes, we've had success with it, but it's not just my brother and I, or my wife, or my brother's wife, or my mom. Like, it takes a community. It takes a lot of people to give up a lot of their time to come support us. We have people from Fort Worth that drive all the way to Jackson, Mississippi to help us put the camp on. We got people that take off work here and help us put the camps on. So it takes a full village, a full community that understand and believe that the message is worth sharing to pull these things off.
Yeah. And the foundation's been going. 2007 is when you had the idea, but you've been doing the camps. I mean, really now for.
We had to take 4 years off. It's kind of
when you were in college.
Yes, NCAA kind of. My brother and I were definitely not starters. I didn't even know they knew we were on the team, but they had heard we had a football camp going, and they shut it down for 4 years, and then we got it going again in 2015.
So at the end of the movie, the scene, reading the letter, opening the letter with your son that your dad had written you, and you read just a brief little opening part of that letter at the end of the movie. Can you share a little bit about some of the things that he said to you here? I know I think you're going to talk more about it upstairs, but
yes, absolutely. That letter has 8 life principles. So a couple things. One, he wrote that to me when I was 2.5 months old, not at the end of his journey, but he wrote that to me.
Beginning of your life.
Beginning of my life. And it had 8 principles, 8 life lessons that he wanted to teach me throughout the year, or throughout my life. And obviously, he didn't get to teach me a lot of those. He got to teach me some, but I could only absorb so much as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old. And so but it's 8 principles. It's accountability. It's love your family. Treat your family and friends well. It's stuff that we've probably more or less heard before. But when it's coming from my dad, knowing I don't get to talk to him about it, I just get to read what he writes. It means a lot to me, and he has inspired me to write letters to both of my boys, to write letters to my wife, to make sure, I don't know, maybe they'll read them, maybe they won't, maybe they'll keep them, maybe they'll trash them.
You're getting emotional sharing this. I know it's going to be emotional reading the letter and sharing that upstairs.
The good thing is I've typed it out, and I don't have to read his handwriting. So that'll be easier to work with.
Well, that's just so special, though, that you have that you're passing that on now, continuing that legacy with your 2 boys.
Well, thank you, Dave.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what's next for Robert Ratliff. So you're back in Fort Worth. You got 2 little ones. You're a leader in this community, and what do you see in the future?
Yeah, I don't know. Right. I want to be the best husband possible to Natalie. I want to be the best dad I can, be super involved. I've got a really good, super blessed. I work for a group called CAC Group, an insurance brokerage firm out of Denver, Colorado, and Birmingham, Alabama. And they're really good to me. And I got a good job there. And now, what do I want to do with You Gotta Believe? I mean, it's a long list. I got a lot of ideas there. I'm working on a few things with it. I want to create a way to where, for one thing, is just I don't want to just see and impact and communicate with these kids 2 days a year. I want to create a 12 or a 9 to 10 month curriculum to where these kids are getting something monthly from us that's got an academic component, an athletic component, and a faith, Bible component, to where they go apply it, or they have to go and then apply it and through that month, and maybe receive a certificate, and then at the end of the year they get a new baseball bat or a pair of cleats or something, right? So I've got some plans on where I want this to go. But I think most importantly, right, like, enjoy now. my time with my dad was cut short, so I got to enjoy right now with my little boys.
What age are they? 3 and 1?
Yeah, Wyatt's 3.5 and Henry's 14 months.
That's
and
great.
It's awesome. It's a ton of fun. So,
we are super thankful that you are here in Fort Worth, Robert, that you're back in this community, that you're going to share with us today. Thank you for doing that. We got a packed house upstairs. It's going to be a fun time. I know maybe some laughter and some tears, but it's going to be a special time. And we're proud of you. We're thankful you're in this community and really appreciate all you're doing with Leader Exchange. And we're glad that we can share your story with Fort Worth and the greater community.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Leadership Exchange.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our podcast with Robert. Thank you again, Robert. We will not be meeting in January. We'll take the month off. We'll pick back up the second Thursday in February. That'll be our next Leader Exchange luncheon at Rivercrest, and look for some upcoming podcasts coming out next month. Thank you again.